doing episode 316 of the LOLA podcast. Yes, we're here. We're going to talk about some stuff, and you're going to listen. You're going to love it. You're just going to absorb it with all your ear holes. Oh, it's going to be great. So, with me this week, you may recognize him from last week. Minus 2 Coins is here. What's up, Coins?
What's up, guys?
All right. So, Coins, anything exciting happen to you? People noticing you in the street now where they weren't before?
Nobody's noticing me in the street, but I did have some awful teammates yesterday, and
It's probably our fault.
I was not happy. It probably was.
Yeah.
So this may be my last time here. I don't
know. My gameplay is.
You're so popular. People want to throw games because they recognize your name now.
Oh my God! That's that son of a bitch. 2 Coins. Kill him. Yeah. That's it. So also here, Stove. What's going on, Stove?
Howdy, everyone. As you can see, I'm not from 1986 anymore.
Yeah, congratulations. You look good. Did you actually buy a new camera? Because I seriously considered just sending you my camera.
Oh, it was Amazon Prime Day.
Nice.
I was like looking at cameras. This was like an $80 camera, half off. I'm like, oh, yep.
Done.
Grab it. Let's go.
What'd you get?
What is it? Depth Tech? It was just some weird brand. I'm like, it had thousands of like 4.5.
Yeah, it looks good. Stars. I mean, yeah, there you go. You look good.
For $45, I'll take it.
Like, see, here's the difference. Like, I can tell that you have hair now. Whereas before, it was just kind of like, you look at a tree like a child would color it. It's just like a trunk and then a whole bunch of green. Like, there's no leaves or anything. There's no detail. That was my impression of you from last episode. Like, I think I said, you're like a cartoon that somebody would draw about a person. That was the level of detail that we got out of last episode.
Well, now you can see, like, now you can see, like, everything now. It's weird.
Yeah, I can, like, read the shit on your walls. It's great.
Yeah.
All right.
I got a lot of artwork.
All right. So, guys, Tryouts Part 2 is on right now. So we're bringing you a new, fresh face. You might know him. I doubt it, because we're just introducing him. But here he is coming to you live from what appears to be a serial killer studio apartment. Schmack, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. I have some bodies stacked up. That's why there's nothing on the wall.
Yeah, it's completely white walls.
Anyone knowing any information about me at all?
You look like you look like you're on Law and Order Special Victims Unit right now. Like, they went in and they're like, we're homing in on the guy's house, and then they knock on your door and you're like, hello? Can I help you? And then, and then it's just incredibly suspicious.
Yeah, that gives the clues to solve the murder.
Yeah. So that is definitely, you have artwork. I can see it sitting on your table. Perhaps it would be a good idea to move it to the wall behind the table.
That's long-term goals.
Yeah, good, man, good.
Remodeling, that's a whole project.
We're gonna spruce this place up in 2024.
I see the one thing hung up in his room, and it looks like that happy birthday trail you had.
It does look like a happy birthday trail. Oh, man.
He just removes the numbers and he adds body count. Like, 22 bodies. Hell yeah.
Hey! We definitely attract a crowd. So, on the podcast, between Wormlax, who might or might not eat people, and Schmack, who might or might not find the people for Wormlax to eat, here we are. This is good. Yeah, no, this is great. So we built our own supply chain in the most disturbing way possible. So, guys, Schmack, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your league pedigree, if you will? What do you play? What favorite champion, rank, shit like that. Go nuts.
Yeah. So I am Schmack, and I am a Echo one trick. I hard abuse Echo. I do play some Talon and Diana, and yeah, and then second role top and just play Yorick because he's brain dead for a secondary role. Yeah,
So,
I just
is
hit
your
plat.
entire league existence designing champions for people to hate you? Is that trying to be like the most like unilaterally despised individual on the Rift? Because that's Zill's thing, you
I was
know.
gonna say I feel like Zill has me beat.
Yeah,
Mine are despised, maybe like a tier down from like the Timos and the Zillions.
right.
Um,
Even
but
you have standards, is what you're saying, you know.
I do have standard. I
Oh.
can't go too far. Like I have a limit, but the limit's pretty. The fence is pretty out there.
Well, cool. So you were saying about rank. Go on.
Yeah, just hit plat this season with just spamming echo games and some Diana, like I said. Um, and yeah. I don't know what else you want to know.
No, you're good. Like, if you ever happen to fall out of plat, you can just ult.
Aha! Aha!
Hey, okay,
Oh,
so
that's how you know he's the father. Over
yeah. Anyway, so guys, we got some show for you tonight to talk about. That's almost a sentence. I did it. Anyway, so what our topics are? Jesus, what is wrong with me tonight? I need like more caffeine, and I don't know, more. Yeah. Oh shit, I'm like out of. Uh-oh. Anyway, so topics tonight we are talking about. I have finished the 40 game Poppy Challenge, and what does that feel like? And we have some questions that people ask me, and I want to address those because I kept getting the exact same questions while I was streaming. So I'm going to do a brief FAQ. What did you learn? These are big things that I kept getting. So I will discuss those things, and we'll get some weigh in from the guys, see if they have anything to say about Poppy support or what have you. So that, and then two, we are going to talk about some of the major item changes, specifically the new items, because while everybody wants to talk about this patch being a meta breaker, and I think it will definitely have an impact on the meta, it's going to be whether or not how overstated or understated those items are going to really shift things around. We will discuss these things, but this is not going to be a patch notes episode. Those suck. And yeah, if you want a patch notes episode, go literally to anyone who does that, because there's everybody.
Episode is the equivalent of my room.
That's exactly right. He's right. He's got it. It's like white walls. There's maybe a birthday thing that you're like, why is that there? That's interesting. And then the rest of the room, pure white. So we need to do. Okay. So I told Stove, if this works out, that I will send him a webcam. Well, he has purchased his own webcam, which frees the show up to buy you some art to put on your wall. So I will buy you a poster, and you can hang it up, and you will have a far less sad room, and then we will fix that for you.
I worked at a movie theater, so if you want like a few movie posters, I got you.
There you go. What's your genre? We'll get you hooked up. You're gonna
Yeah,
look
good
sweet
problem.
as shit in there. Okay, so all right, let's talk about the Poppy thing because I got a lot of questions about that, and the first question I got is like, okay, well, first off, let's just wrap up like what happened in the Poppy challenge. So, in my Poppy challenge, if you consider both uh, solo queue and flex overall rating, I think I was something like a 45% win rate. And is that disappointing to me? Not really. I mean, if you think about it, like Poppy is a very, very niche champion in support. In top, she's more fairly universal, but because she has more money. But in support, she's a very niche champion. Very much requires people to not realize and put their backs to walls, right? So it's like a less good Leona, all in all. And I've said that before. But that said, like when it does go, it goes hard, right? So Poppy support, very niche, very good against Dash champions, very good against Vayne, very good against Lucian, very good against any champion that's going to utilize a Dash in their kit. Caitlyn is actually really fun because every fucking time she will immediately try to net as soon as it's like pre-programmed into the mind of the ADC. Oh, Dix, net! And then they go nowhere, and then they are screwed, and it's so much fun to watch. But I mean, outside of those kind of random situations, like, it's not that good, and I know it's not that good. It's fun though, but not the best champion. So 45% win rate easily could have been a 55% win rate. If you go through, and I posted in One Trick Poppy every game I played and what the result was through the 40 game challenge. Like all the way back, I believe, to game 1, but maybe not. Okay, here's game 3. So I went at least that far. Nope, I did. I just wrote 0 and 2. So the first 2 games are just say 0 and 2. Or no, it says game 1 loss, then it says 0 and 2. So, but if you look through, I've got like all the games, and then I started doing like a brief synopsis of what happened in all those games and like what was the cause and effect of the wins or losses, whether it was me, whether it was them, whether the champion just didn't really do anything. And there were a couple of matchups where, yeah, Poppy was a fucking terrible pick. Because if you have a niche pick and it's not the niche, it's a bad pick. Right? Like, and I know that. So a couple of times she just didn't really do anything. But then I have so many games where I wrote, win. They picked so many dashing champions. Wahaha. That was game 8, right? There's other games where I put stuff like that. But if I looked at this, in 30 games, I had. All right, let's see. Mental Boom, Super Omega Mental Boom, and or Macro. That's not Mental Boom. Mental Boom. It's seven games. Couldn't clutch. Other team mental boomed. So I don't know if I take one off for that or if I just count it towards my point. I'm going to count it towards my point because my point is
I
that.
would count it towards the point because that's just overall mental boom.
Yeah. Let's see. Game 20 was mental boom. Oh, game 21 was mental boom. Cho was calling for surrender at 4 minutes. Let's see. Ups and downs. Normal game. Crushed the enemy team. Poppy was a perfect pick. Not ideal setup, but we won nevertheless. Poppy's good into Vayne. Got carried by a douchebag Jax. And ugly game carried by 2 coins. Let's see.
Oh yeah, that was us.
Yep. Let's see. Rengar rage quit. That's 11 mental booms. That's by the way, Poppy into Rengar is fucking hilarious.
Oh,
like,
so good.
Oh god, it's so terrible for the Rengar. I feel so bad for this dumb shit because he kept trying to I'm gonna use the bush to jump on him, but then I'm gonna get out, and it's like, no, you're fucking not. And he just dies so fast. Anyway.
When Rengar top was really good and everybody was spamming it, you just pick Poppy and he just kind of sits there like,
Oh shit. Okay, game 30.
Why can't I be Yumi and hop on someone?
Game 33, another loss. That's 13 or 12 mental booms. Oh, Caitlyn immediately giga tilted and threw the game on purpose. That's 13 mental booms. Duoed with Ernie and we won. That was nice. Let's see. Lost mitigated. My top laner rage quit. 14 mental booms. Actually put weak mental, claims another game. Outscaled. ADC didn't sync. Top fed and then inted. And that's 15 mental booms. And then game 40 was a loss because I had family drama and had to AFK during that game. That was just shits. Anyway, but 15 games out of 40 were decided by mental boom. It's fucking ridiculous. So if I flip the script, and it doesn't matter what champion I pick into that, but if I flip the script, and keep in mind, only one of those mental booms where the enemy team mental boomed and then I was great, right? But if I flip the script on half of those, I'm at 55% win rate.
Yeah, easily.
You know, actually, it's even higher because it turns a loss into a win instead of just adding a win. Like it subtracts a loss and adds a win 7 times.
I'm trying to do the math here.
So it's pretty fucking significant that would have changed a lot, right? I mean, keep in mind, to be fair, a lot of teams mental boom when they're behind, but like, good God, man. Like, it was fucking nuts. And so, to a certain degree, I have found that gold in particular, like, has become so problematically, like, all the high elo shit that is usually a problem, you know? Like, when you, ooh, streamer mentality, oh, go next, oh.
Cringe, we can't,
yeah.
We lose after,
after first blood.
10 CS. I'm down 10 CS. We're done. We're lost.
That's game. That's game, guys. Can't come back from this. Thanks for helping, dickhead. Shitty jungler. Anyway.
Jungle diff.
Yeah, jungle diff. Any diff. Like,
that.
yeah. So, this kind of mentality has affected all the way down. Like, it's in gold now. And I always kind of expected it to be in silver, but I thought it would skip gold. Because silver's the land of impersonators. Like, everybody thinks they're, you know, some high elo streamer that's just stuck. And gold is
I'm
like
sneaky. I'm Meteos.
Yeah.
Is my team feeding?
Right. That's silver.
I'm perfect.
Silver's the land of reality denial and whatever. But you know, gold usually, like, gold used to be pretty chill, and then you get right back into, like, platinum is literally just shinier silver. You know, it's the same shit, right? So that being said, I kind of expected gold to be a little different because it never has been like this before. But it's truly, like, all that shit has trickled down to the point that it's gross. And it's not, like, the mentality is dog shit. And so I see these players, like, literally crapping out on the game. And the problem is, picking Poppy, if you don't just immediately wreck with it, they are more apt to boom because they don't understand how the champion is played. So, like, a lot of times people will say shit like, oh, I could play an off-meta champion, and I'll have such an advantage because nobody knows how to play against it. And I go, yeah, except your team is going to fucking mental boom to a ridiculous degree. And I have to think that in a couple of those games, shit, there was one where literally this guy was bitching about Poppy support being useless into, like, a vein. And I'm like, this is, like, literally my wet dream moment of a matchup. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I can do anything. And it was into vein pike. And I'm like, if you just dodge the pike, I can engage on the vein. Like, all you have to do is dodge the pike.
The only lane I could see possibly being more perfect to Poppy would be, like, Vayne Rel. But even then,
boom!
Like, you literally deny everything they can do.
Mm-hmm. With one button. And that's what drives me insane, is, like, these people, they don't get how this shit is played because they have no experience with it. And because they don't see it in higher tiers of play, they assume it is dog shit. And then when they assume it is dog shit, their mind just shuts the fuck down. And they may, like, give you 10 minutes of the game to show them that you're good at this non-standard horse shit, and then they're in. Right? But if you don't do something in that 10 minutes, they will shit the bed. Like, guaranteed. And they'll blame it on you. Like, if you watched my stream during the last, I don't know, 15 games of Poppy I played, there were so many times that people would literally just shit on me and everything was my fault. Didn't even matter where it happened. Like, this wouldn't have happened if you didn't pick Poppy. And I'm like, you died solo top lane. What the fuck are you talking about, right? Like we, like I had this fucking Kog'Maw who sucked so bad, like sucked so bad. He just kept getting hit with everything, and I'm like, I can't save you. Like, you are dead when you get hit with all this shit. Like, you're just dead. Like, you don't have any escape. I can bat somebody away from you, but the damage is done. Like, you don't have a health bar. And if you don't have a health bar, we can't engage. Like, it's over, right? Like, you have to be careful that you picked a champion whose big thing is that they can't be hit with shit, and then you got hit with shit. Like, this is, what? It fits, you know, like, you just go like, what the fuck? So I played with this Kog'Maw who said, Poppy's a fucking terrible pick. This is your fault that I died because you don't do anything for me. You can't do anything for me. And it's just terrible. Like, why did you pick Poppy when I picked Kog'Maw? Okay, 2 games later, I played with Ernie. Ernie's been playing, guess what? Kog'Maw. A lot. So Ernie picked Kog'Maw. We absolutely fucking butt crushed that game. Poppy and Kog'Maw. And I mean, it's not because I'm like telling Ernie what to do. It's because Ernie's not a dumbass. And that's the difference. I mean, like, the reality is, you know, if you know what you're doing with the champion, it's fine. Like, it's fine. Like, Kog'Maw is, I mean, not Kog'Maw. Poppy is not my best champion, but there were games where I put up like hero performances on it. Then there were games that I did absolutely nothing and looked like shit. Like, I played one with 2 coins. I did absolutely nothing and looked like shit. You know, so fine.
Yeah,
Like,
there too.
yeah.
Confirm.
Well, 2 coins was in my lane, is why I keep saying that. Stove was there, that's true. But, like, it didn't do anything. Felt terrible and just, ugh. But, I mean, that said, I kind of expected it, and I was trying to grind out those games to be done with the challenge. So, you know, all in all, like, those were the big questions. It's like, how do you feel? Like, okay, how do I feel about this challenge being over? All right. So, you guys watch Rick and Morty? Anybody watch Rick and Morty? Do you remember the
Completely understand it.
Yeah, do you remember the episode of Rick and Morty where they were flying away in the spaceship after all the shit exploded behind them and like everything was insane? And then they looked at each other and they just started crying and then they're like, I had no idea what was going on there. I thought I was going to die like 16 times. And then Morty's just like, ah! He, like, is freaking out and losing his shit.
Yep.
That's how I felt after finishing 40 games of Poppy. So, in summary, I have decided that 40 games for $100 is totally, I am fucking myself on this thing. Like, we're not doing that anymore. So, if you want 40 games of my time, that's fine, but we're doing it 20 games at a time. Because 20 games is something that I can knock out in a period of time. 40 games just to sit down and do it, like, shit, man. 40 games, that took me 3 months. And, like, ugh. And so, the other thing I will say is, I'm also going to add the addendum that it's not going to be 40 games of in a row. Right? Because there are times that I put myself in a god awful situation picking something that was fucking ass into a comp where I would do nothing. And I just said, well, you know. And then the other end of it is like, of course I'm going to get paid to play Poppy for fucking 40 games when Thresh is like S tier. You know, like, god damn, I've been waiting for this shit for seasons now. And then all of a sudden, like, yep, gotta play Poppy. Oh, what's that? Thresh is on top of the list? Like, god damn it. Okay, fine. So, 20 games, I feel like that's fair. It's still like $5 a game, right? So, that's not bad. You get to dick with my ranked experience. You can make me comfortable or uncomfortable as you want to be. You know, that being said, I think that's fair. I don't, and the other thing is, I don't want to subject any of the other podcasters unless they voluntarily want to step into this. But man, 40 games, Jesus, it's just too much. You know what I mean? Like anybody who rode that out with me, I started getting pity subscriptions on Twitch. People would come on and they'd be like, "I'm sorry you had to live through this. Here, take my Twitch Prime sub." I'm like, I appreciate it, friend. Yeah. Shout out to Jazzy Juggernaut. You were there with me the whole way in the last 12. I appreciate you. So, all right. So that being said, yeah, and the other thing I will say, as much shit as I have said this entire thing, Poppy is actually not as bad of a support as people think she is. She's just incredibly niche. And in that niche, she's really fucking good. Outside of that niche, she's bad. She's just not as good as Leona. She has too many. It's like Leona, except you can't do what you want to do unless their back is against a wall. And that sucks because or it's like Bard, except imagine I couldn't use minions and I could only use the wall. Yeah, a hammer. Yeah. So that said, there you go. That was kind of my feelings on it. Thank you, Alpha Wolf, for supporting the podcast and making me do this. So I appreciate you, man. That was genuine, by the way. So anyway, guys, we have Big Patch. Big Patch comes out, and this is not a patch episode, but there are some major changes, and we kind of need to discuss those to a point. And so the big line item that I want to discuss is there are two new items. Well, okay, first off, I'm going to go down the list. Tom Kench rework came out. I don't know how I feel about it. I want to play with it before I decide whether or not I think it's any good, or whether or not it sucks.
I do play. I did try it out. He's definitely more suited for top lane now.
Yeah, I figured that's kind of the way it would be.
Not a support anymore.
Well, and then the other thing that is concerning to me as a support is looking at his numbers. I don't feel like I can do anything with this champion as a support. Just his W seems totally useless to me. Okay, I don't want to get into this, but first thoughts. Q is essentially the same, though making the cooldown go from 7 seconds to 5 seconds. The reason that it's 5 seconds is because you can stack with it, and the stacks don't fall off. Making it 7 seconds is a pretty big fucking deal to keeping those stacks active, right? So, right there, that's a bit weird. I hate the fact that it heals. Why does it need to heal? Why does everything need to heal in the fucking game? Tom Kench already has gray health. Why does he need to heal from hitting Tongue Lash? It just makes him a sustained tank. And those have always been easy to balance. Anyway, so W is what I wanted to talk about. Tom Kench channels for 1.35 seconds and then dives for 0.15 seconds, which is a second and a half total. After a second and a half, he then appears in a targeted area, dealing some damage and knocking up enemies for 1 second. Hitting an enemy refunds 30% of its cooldown and mana cost. The cooldown goes from 21 to 17 seconds, even at max rank. So this is intended to be a one and done, haha, gotcha, bitch.
I'm in the lane.
I'm in there, here we are. But I mean, realistically speaking, with this kind of a wind-up, unless you're just standing in a bush, I don't know how you're going to catch somebody unaware. Or they have to already be CC'd, and you have to start your channel damn near on their hit of CC, or you're going to miss. Because it takes a second and a half to channel it for a 1 second knockup. So you are CCing yourself for time and a half longer than you're CCing the enemy. Right? How do you do that in combat? How does that work?
I'm wondering if it works like his old ult, because I don't know how it looks on enemy side, where does it show when you start channeling for the enemies?
I'm assuming it does, because
it actually says in there Like it'll show that you're channeling, I think, and then kind of like what his old ult used to look like, and then after 0.75 seconds, it'll show where you're gonna land at. I think is what the patch notes said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
so
You
here
can't.
like the catches are you can take somebody with you like you could before with his ult, which is cool. So that's hence the channel time. But the enemies cannot see where you are headed until half a second into the channel. So the back half, they can see where you're actually intending to go and try to dodge it. They have 3/4 of a second to dodge it. Okay. So it's very flashable, is my point.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
To me, the only saving grace of this is the reason I don't like Rakan is because of this. Like I move forward and then I bounce up. And it's incredibly, incredibly dodgeable unless you have ultimate. And you can charm them into staying there for your dot, for your pop up. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels telegraphed. And I find it incredibly difficult to hit. It's like a Nami bubble that if I miss it, I'm now in the shit. Right? And that's what
True.
Tom Kinch, like, this feels like an all or nothing. And I'm bringing my teammate with me. And it doesn't say anything about what the range is. And so I'm wondering, is the range what it was before? Because there's going to be now 5 ranks of this.
I think the range is lower.
Yeah, so I mean, it's got to be, right? I mean, it has to be. It's a non ultimate ability
It's
now.
1200 at max. Like it wasn't that long.
Well, then it's not
It's like
nowhere
maybe
near
half,
as useful.
half a lane. I think. I think I made it from like before top river, the top bush in the river. I think I made it to like towards the back of lane at max rank.
Well, see, like, okay, so I get that Devour needs to be his ult. Like, I get that because it's a really good ability. You need to gate it. It's too strong in pro play. It's too strong, oh, fucking everywhere. And I love the fact that they attached Q to the ult as like a combo that you can now do on champions instead of minions. That's incredibly powerful as a ganking tool or as a like escape preventer. Like, nope, you're back here now. Like, neat.
Get over here.
Get over. Yeah, you're like Scorpion. So neat, right? But like that doesn't leave a lot of power budget for W, and I feel like you can tell. Maybe maybe it feels better than I'm thinking it's gonna feel, but it feels like it'd be very difficult to hit this.
So I
I-
think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen. Again, it might be like Poppy, very niche, but I've seen some people trying it mid because W can help with ganks. Um, and if you hit it, then great. Very lucky shot, probably.
Right.
But it's more so. I think people use it for just like positioning for ganks and stuff, maybe. But I mean, unless they're trying to make him a mid laner, it doesn't really make a ton of sense for like top. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, to me, it feels like Hex Flash on Rakan. I mean, it like okay, so you're gonna sit there and go and charge that up, and then you're gonna go, and it's like if I see an Alistair go and then charge it up, and I'm like, oh, I need to back up. You know what I mean? Like that's just okay. He's gonna be moving towards me now. I need to be over there. Okay, it only works when you're in a bush. But anyway, go on. 2 coins.
Yeah. So I think this could be used really well instead of putting him top to putting him in the jungle. I don't think you. I think we'll find out very quickly you don't use it for the knockup, but if you hit somebody on the knockup, great. Just to get behind somebody and hey, look, I'm here. You didn't see me coming because how do you ward against? It's like warding against Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, maybe if you're frozen right before under your tower, ganking with your jungler and 2 people coming from behind before the wave is crashing. That way they can't run through your tower. But again, it seems very niche, very not great.
Well, and see, that was my point. If you're saying that the maximum like slide distance is like an Ezreal Q, it's gonna be hard to make that into a gank. Like the reason
That's
that
true.
Zach comes from so far
He's a
is
mile away.
yeah, he's a fucking mile away, and it
Yeah,
okay.
that's true.
Or like the other thing that I used to do with Tom Kinch that made him badass is when you were coming back to lane, if you were stronger than your opponents, you just ult in behind them between them and then you just killed them, right? Like,
Right.
but this doesn't. Supposedly, I don't know because I've not played it. But if this doesn't have those kind of numbers, then you can't really do that.
Yeah.
So, Two Coins did like nail it on the head. What really you're using this for is you're using this to like get behind them. It's if I was playing top and I'm like, all right, I pushed the wave. Let me go mid. I used it to get by the tower, by the enemy tower,
Right.
so they are forced to either come to me or they come to the enemy to my own mid. It's you're never gonna really get that knock up. I never did. I did it like a bunch, but it wasn't. I never really hit anything. I used it as like a discount or a diet Zaki.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what it feels like right now. I mean, it's all right, but I've only played Tom Kench top ever.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Okay, so that's probably enough about Tom Kinch. Unless anybody else has any final thoughts they want to throw on there, I'm not seeing anybody taken. So there are two new items that League has introduced with this patch, 11.13. Those two items are Anathema's Change or Anathema's Chains and Hullbreaker. And so Anathema's Chains is a tank item that gives 650 health and 20 ability haste. And in addition, you choose a nemesis to start building a vendetta over 60 seconds. This has global range, must be used out of combat, and can be used while dead. There is a 90-second cooldown. So basically, pick a person, right? Like, just don't do it in combat. You can do it anywhere. Hell, you can do it while you're dead. Doesn't matter. Elect somebody who's going to be your, like, rival, right? Uh, as these stacks build, and you basically get one every 2 seconds, you get damage reduction starting at 0 and going up to 30% over 60 seconds. So you can pick a champion, and that champion does 30% reduced damage to you at maximum stacks, which is 1 minute. Okay? At max stacks, the person that you pick has 20% reduced tenacity. Okay. Question for you guys. And I think you guys know how I probably feel about this, but even if you didn't, is this a good item for League of Legends? Is this healthy? Is this a healthy item? Because whenever I say a good item, I don't mean like will you buy it? I mean, is it healthy for the game for this item to exist?
So question about how it stacks. I don't even know if we know this yet because I haven't played a game on the patch yet. But will it, after you use it, will it keep stacking even if you start fighting somebody?
Yes, you can
Yeah.
only you can only elect who you want it to stack on out of combat.
Got it. Yeah, then I think it's pretty. That's pretty fucked.
Well, okay,
It does
so
not sound great.
to me, like I get what they're trying to do, and I get what they're trying to say. It's like, hey, we want to build an item for tanks that lets them tank more effectively, right? Um, so you can pick somebody who's doing a whole shitload of damage and negate some of that so you can actually tank what the enemy team is going to do, right? The problem is, it's not like tanks are easy to kill in the current game. Like, it's not like that's the scenario that we're in. I don't know that I've ever been like, man, it was really easy killing that Scion. That Mundo is squishy. You know, like these are not words that come out of my mouth during a game where I'm like, hooray, that guy's a pussy. Like, it just doesn't happen, right? These tanks are hard as fuck to kill.
Tissue paper.
Yeah, like these tanks are hard as fuck to kill. Like, especially Mundo with his CC reduction and all this shit, right? Like, or immunity. When I say that, reduction. Reduced to 0. Anyway, uh, fucking, this is like, these champions are not weak. You do not need to give them this, like, magic belt that, like, allows them to 1v1 anybody and take even less damage, right?
Right.
Second thing that bothers me about this item is that we have gone even further from a solo carry meta. Right? Like, you can't, even with this, I mean, before you had all these disincentives to solo carrying. Like, you get a bounty, and now you can't do shit that you would normally do, or you're going to give back 1,000 gold. Like, you can't take risks. You have to play, you can't push the envelope as hard as you normally would with a lead, because one death can give a huge gold swing to the other team and put them right back in the game. Okay, that's bad, in my opinion, but whatever. Riot's calculated that to say that they have a reason for it, I assume. But then this, it's like, okay, so what if I get ahead on Riven? Right? And like Riven's thing is that I can 1v5, right? Like I do a lot of damage, I pop people, whatever, right? What champion in League doesn't benefit from 650 health and 20 ability haste? They all do. I mean, there's no stats here that anybody wouldn't want to have. And if I said Riven does 30% less damage to you, I could see an ADC buying this item.
Yep.
There's a true like a 10 and 0 Riven top lane. Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't take this maybe third item.
Yeah. Or a fed Rengar, or a fed Olaf, or a fed anybody that you can't do shit about and you instantaneously die. Taking 30% less damage.
Nuts.
Yeah, this is nuts. And
so I think a couple bad uses for this thing could be too is I'm a split pushing Jax who is crazy. I'm crazy ahead, but their mid laner's also ahead, or their jungler's also ahead, who's a duelist. I use this on him, and nobody can stop me split pushing. So you kind of like flip the script on feeling better as a tank. Or I don't think this would happen in like gold plat, but in like higher elos, if you build this first to help prevent getting dove over and over again after an early death or something. Again, that doesn't really happen in the lower elos, but the higher up in the game, the more that's a possibility. That way you can safely farm and you don't have to worry about getting dove.
I mean, shit, like, you have someone who just gets way ahead, and you go, that guy's not going to kill me.
Yep. It's another comeback mechanic.
Yeah, it's another comeback mechanic. And the problem with this one in particular as a comeback mechanic is you can literally just opt out of someone else's power spike.
Yeah.
For 2,500 gold. And it's not mythic. Like, it's just an item.
It sounds worse when you put it that way, too. Opt out of someone else's power spike. Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's disgusting.
For 2,500 gold. That is a cheap fucking item that has good components. It has a Giant's Belt and a Kindle Gem. And it gives you 650 fucking health. And 20 ability haste. These are good stats on Forget Everybody!
It's super, like, efficient to build, too. Like, the path is so easy. You could just get, like, an early Kindle Gem that's 800, nothing.
Giant's Belt's 9.
Giant's Belt is 9. And then altogether is 8. That's, like, 3 decent backs, and then you're done.
Yeah. And then that 8-0 Darius ain't no problem for you no more. You know, like, what do you do whenever you're 8-0 Darius and their team builds 4 chains? You know what I mean? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, and then you just go, God damn it, why am I good at this game? Because I don't get anything from it. All I do is get 4 chain debuffs. And then on top of that, don't forget, friend, that not only are you not doing 30% of your damage to each of the people that bought this fucking item, but now your tenacity is reduced by 20%. And I am unclear as to whether or not that stacks if multiple chains get bought.
Right now, I think it would.
I think it only applies to your, like, reduced tenacity to you.
No,
Correct.
yeah, so, and max stacks. Your nemesis has 20% reduced tenacity while near you.
So if two of them are,
Sounds like it could
yeah,
stack them.
they
Yeah,
stack the
because if I am a nemesis with stove, and Coins is a nemesis with stove, and Schmack is a nemesis with stove, and we're all 3 standing around you, you just lost 60% tenacity and 30% damage to each of us. How do you carry that game? Master Yi is like no longer a champion at this point. You know what I mean? Like this item, if you have a Yi, if you have a Katarina, if you have any of those champions that can just multi-shot a team. And see, the thing that kills me is like this item would almost, it'd still suck and it would still be unhealthy for the game if you elected one time who your opponent was going to be, and that was that. Right? You declare a nemesis and that's that. But the fact that you can change, like you can change this on a 90-second cooldown, and it only takes 1 minute to fully charge. Like, if I die, and I say, that son of a bitch is my nemesis, and I have a 30-second death timer, by the time I get back to lane, the item is fully charged.
So, what are your thoughts on if you, as a champion, had to be near your nemesis to apply the damage reduction as well? Do you think that helps any?
I mean,
you can't stack it.
I don't think I'm just saying I don't like the item altogether.
That's fair.
Like I don't think this is a healthy item to add to the game at all. I think it's too good. And especially like we haven't even really we just talked about general use of it. Now throw it on a champion like Aatrox. You know, throw it on a Mundo.
80 carry who's fed, but they have a fed person who can run you down. Just yesterday, I had a Trundle who he's like 6-1 at 15 minutes or some shit, and there was no amount of kiting that I could do to carry that game. If I have an item like that, I now all of a sudden have some carry potential. Someone on my team hits a CC ability, all of a sudden he just rolls over and dies.
Yeah, you got.
I just don't die. He just tickles me.
Yeah, you buy this item, you throw some carrots in there and a bone. You got a stew going, baby.
And especially on a champ like Ezreal, who fucking, it doesn't matter what you build. That champ's fucked. Like, I love abusing that champion.
You just need cooldown reduction on Ezreal. That's it. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And a cooldown item.
And guess what Chains has? Like, it's got cooldown. Yeah, it's got that. So I mean, I don't know. Like, I just can't see like how this. How this concept made it through, like playtesting or iteration, or somebody's like, well, that's a cool idea, but isn't this gonna make the game suck? I mean, like, did nobody ask this question? Like, but okay, so you go ahead.
I want to offer like probably like a little bit of compensation. So you have the 30% reduction. It's either you gut that number to like 10% to make it at least manageable. Like 10% damage, okay, it sucks, but you're not taking away 700 or 300 damage off 1,000 damage crit.
Right.
Or you keep this inflated number, but you reduce the damage you do to that person. So like,
all right, because that doesn't hurt tanks that bad. Because like we're not really worried about your damage output as a tank anyway. It just helps you tank more, and it's a double-edged sword. Okay, all right. That would be more. I would be less inclined to say this is going to be a universally purchased item.
Right.
If that were the case.
That would push it more towards the tank item.
But really, I'm trying to figure out, like, with the way this item works, if I have somebody who's running away with the game, 4 of these are getting bought. So you better finish the game before the next 2,500 gold rolls down the pipe. Because if you don't, you're gonna deal with 4 of these fucking chains. Or the other end is if I'm ahead, and this is what we haven't really discussed. Let's say I am the 7-1 Darius, right? Why wouldn't I just buy the chains and then do it on the guy that I'm already kicking the dick out of? And then as I transition in out of laning phase and into anything else, I pick the one guy on their team that could shut me down and I just gimp his ass.
Yep.
Where does this help the game?
I feel like it's going to be each player, because it's pretty common that at least like one player on each team is, unless it's a stomp, is going to be the potential carry for that team. And say both of those players are snowballing, I feel like it feels like the intent of the item was to feel like, oh, I feel like players sometimes feel like, oh, I can't do anything with the 6-1 Darius or with the superhero that was created in a lane that I had no control over. Oh, now all of a sudden with this item I have some control over that. Like I understand the feels bad here's something to help with that, but like I feel like it also could just become a, oh, your superhero builds this item versus my superhero and vice versa. And now it's like this weird 1v1 with a bunch of other
that
like semi-relevant.
that takes 66% longer. Like what the fuck? Anyway, so I want to read this because I think the flavor text is actually like provides insight into what they're trying to do with this item, and I think it helps. So, Anathema's Chains. Are you a tank? Is there an annoying enemy on the other team? Boy, do we have the item for you. With Anathema's Chains, you can select one unlucky foe to be easier prey. Vengeance can be yours today. On a more serious note, this item gives tanks a unique defensive advantage when sparring against a single target, while also providing offensive CC. This should be especially useful when you're in a game where you keep encountering the same enemy or someone you just don't like. Okay. What boggles the mind is they are assuming that tanks will only buy this item. That's not true. Those stats are universally good on everybody. Okay? 2. When will Riot listen to their own people that have said, stop combining offensive and defensive items? It breaks the game. Like, what broke the game? And still, like, fucking that item where you never die and you take like damage and then Death Stance. Death Stance broke the game for a long ass time, and the champions it's good on, you can never kill them. And then they sustain through the debuff, and they just end up taking a sick amount less damage. And it's also offensive in nature, and it also gives you all the tools that you need to get right through the buff that it's supposed to be, or the debuff that it's supposed to be putting on you that's supposed to be meaningful. Right? Like, it's a bad item. I mean, it's a good item, it's just unhealthy. Because it does everything. Okay. This feels like that. Only worse because you can literally target the person who's supposed to be carrying the game. And then it's like,
help too.
what?
It doesn't help too that like even if you make this worse on ranged champions, it doesn't feel any better when a Jax builds it.
Right.
Bruisers are still gonna abuse the fuck out of this, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Darius.
Anybody who's hard to kill and does a lot of damage is going to abuse the fuck out of this.
Yep.
Like, also and this item would be annoying enough without the tenacity removal. Them losing 20% of their tenacity is fucking nuts.
Yes.
So, anyway, Other item, the hole breaker. Now,
to tie with all the problems that champions who would abuse the chains, here's another item they're
yeah.
all gonna abuse.
Well, see, okay, so this one, I want to hear your guys' opinion before I weigh in on this one.
Okay.
So, hole breaker.
I'm
Flavored.
Speak from
No, hold on. Let me read the flavor text. I'm going to read the stats and introduce the item, and then the floor is yours, friend, once I'm done with that. Many fighters struggle to convert leads into wins right now, especially through split pushing. Hole Breaker's goal is to give them a strategic purchase where they can opt into a heavy and powerful split pushing strategy at the cost of being isolated from their team. This item should allow for the split pusher to take down towers and whoever comes to stop them. It also gives a way to push through tanks and towers, similar to how old Banner of Command worked, except they now have to stick with the minion to continue barreling down the lane. Base stats. Build path is a pickaxe, a phage, and 825 gold. The attack damage is 50 on it, health is 300, health regen is 150%. Effects. While no allied champions are nearby, gain 20 to 45 armor and magic resist, level 9 through 18, and deal 20% increased damage to towers. Large minions nearby also gain 60 to 135 armor and magic resist, and deal 200% increased damage to towers. Okay, so the comparison here to Banner of Command is Banner of Command used to be able to pick a minion and make it a super tank. You know, like the fucking tank minions, like blam, they're big and they do a lot more damage, and they'll just pop, plop, plop, keep going down the lane, and you don't need to be anywhere near them. With this, you kind of get all the buffs that you used to get from that one item that you'd be alone when you built, like Sanguine Blade or something. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, that was the split push item they tried to push.
Yeah, so you get Sanguine Blade and Banner of Command rolled into an item. Go.
All right.
Stove. I believe you had something to say on this.
Yes, because I do play a lot of top lane, and this, I think if you have health and you have AD, you're building this, period. No questions asked. Because it is stupid gold efficient, just from stats, because you get health regen, you get like a decent amount of health, and 50 AD is nothing to laugh about. The fact that you get all this like armor and magic resist from no allied champions means, okay, I don't have to face, I can face as many enemy champions as I want with these the gain stats. Then you have the added like armor and magic resist to your large minion. Like, this is not including the increased damage to towers. Like, I don't think it should be a percentage that like 20%. That's, you'd think that's not a lot, but you put that on like Set, Jax, anyone with any kind of auto attack like increase. It's
Trundle.
York,
Trundle,
Gnosis,
yes.
Trundle. All these champions are gonna go nuts now because this is their item. Trendamir. Anyone. It's the biggest problem. Like, don't get me wrong, I think any bruiser item is good because I love playing bruisers. But this is nuts. And everyone's gonna build it if you even have a chance to. Like, I think people will probably rush this faster than a mythic. Because you rush this, you beat someone down in the lane, you get that's instant first tower before 14 minutes, and then there's your gold lead.
Yeah.
Tie this with Atma's chain, okay, or whatever, the 2 chains. You tie that, okay. Who's fed on their team? All right, I'm gonna make sure they can't do damage to me, and then unless you get probably gang rushed and they build 4 chains to deal with you, you're unstoppable. And then you get your mythic, and then, all right, well, what do I got to pick? Let's pick Gore Drinker and just keep me alive the entire time.
So, all right. I'm gonna do the round table. I'm gonna go last.
Yep.
So chain or chains.
Oh,
Minus two
Chains.
chains. Yeah, I went to two chains immediately. Anyway, coins. How about?
So, I have to say I'm not sure that it's worth rushing over a mythic, even if you're stomping. I see your point about getting first tower and being a monster, but we'll see how good it is and if it's because I think we'll find out pretty quickly if it's worth rushing over a mythic or not.
I think he's right though about first tower.
Yeah.
Coins is right about first tower. I don't think. Okay, your opponent is not gonna leave lane very much.
Right.
This is the best. The way this item functions best is when you are alone in a lane to amass waves. And then you have big ass minions that are going to do big ass amounts of damage and be very durable, and you're going to be durable, and blah blah blah. And even if you are alone 1v1, you're still strong. You know, the enemy champion is there, you get all the buff. I think that I don't know that you're going to rush this to like smash down the first tower. But I think when left alone, you're right. You're going to This to me feels more like a, oh no, they took my tower. And now I'm going to build this and take two of theirs immediately. Right? Like that's what it feels more like to me. But anyway, go on.
So I think Riot's got it wrong here. Do we really think that split pushers are bad? Bullshit. The split push players are bad because a good split pusher will, if they don't win the game, they will heavily prolong it because the reason that split pushing is bad, quote unquote, is because split pushers get caught. The reason Camille doesn't take flash right now is because she can't get caught with her E if she is playing properly. So I don't think split pushing's bad. I think that's Riot's biggest mistake here. And again, when you build this item second or third as you're stomping the enemy top laner, and I'm Jax, just for example again, even if I don't build chains, and I only have this, like, you're going to completely take over the game. Like, I have 20 to 45 armor and magic resist, and I also have 20% increased damage to towers. Why am I doing more damage to towers when I have way too much to already do a ton of damage and take down towers fast, and my minions have it? If it's just minions doing these things, maybe it's a little bit more balanced. But like banner command broke the game. Like you would have 5 banners of command in high elo. Like and we're going down that same path to make our mistake again. And again, this isn't a bad build path either. Pickaxe doesn't always feel good, but if you're ahead, it's fine. Phage and 825, decent stats, and just nuts passive. Like we keep overloading everything, and it's why some champs aren't playable because they don't have enough in their kit, right? Because Riot keeps overloading things like Ali, and then they had to
Hold on. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
You said some champs aren't playable because they don't have enough in their kit. And I think this shit is designed to address some of that, right? So we're going to give you more shit that you're going to be able to do. The problem is, this also is built by people who have a lot of shit in their kit. And so, realistically, it just, like, inflates everybody,
Yes.
right? And it still doesn't fix that gap. It just inflates it. It's still there. Anyway.
Or bigger. I agree. But yeah, real quick, Riot does this thing where we overload stuff, and then we take it all away, just like Akali, Aatrox, things like that. At some point, Riot has to fucking stop making their mistake, and let's just not overload it in the beginning. Like, make this 2 separate items, right? Like, make the passive in 2 separate items, and I think it's fine because it's more gold you have to pour into something. But then they know nobody's going to build it because it's not worth just one or just the other. You have to have them both.
One will be better than the other.
Either one will be better than the other, or neither of them will be worth
combining
alone. Yeah, without combining it. So like at some point, we just need to like stop overloading the in my opinion. Like you know this, both of these items are gonna get fucking changed the next three patches, right? Like I would hope if they perform like we think they will.
All right, Smack.
Yeah, I'd I'd be super interested to see what the gold efficiency is on these two items in terms of like how like uh the Hullbreaker one to me seems like the chains seem like they would feel worst if you were playing against someone with chains, but I feel like the Hullbreaker is actually the uh maybe the one that might it at least seems to me to be stronger. Because I might disagree that split pushing is like a really good strategy right now. I feel like with um, all like the uh, new dashes that a bunch 20 champions have 20 dashes and things like that now.
True.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like because I split push a decent amount, even like with Echo with Nashers, and it feels like I have to take TP on Echo now versus Ignite because like my team will always get like 90% of the time will get engaged on if I'm
Yep.
split pushing. And often you can't, it's hard to do enough to towers in mid game to actually like warrant split pushing versus getting your entire team wiped or like a team fight or something like that. Um, so I think I don't think team fighting or team fighting. I don't think split pushing was in a like super good OP strat right now, but I also don't think it's as weak as Riot seems to think it is. I think
So yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like I didn't mean to
yeah,
think that it was OP or anything, but I think it's in a fine spot.
yeah. I think this probably sends it like over the top. I think it does shift shift the meta like much more to split pushing for sure. What do you think? What do you think about it being rushed? So I was thinking like playing Yorick. If you get an early lead on someone, right? Uh, Yorick's very punishing if he gets ahead early, in that you take towers fast as is. You often like you rush a Sheen, and often you have demolish. Could you see it being built on champions who are really punishing to get ahead early to get plates? Because I feel like that's a lot of gold. Um,
You'd have to
so
complete it by 14 minutes and then still get those plates. And if you're that far ahead, you've probably already got the plates.
Yeah, like I think it would be kind of a coin flip too, uh, because if you start building this and you start falling behind, then you're gonna fucking feel like shit.
Well, but are you? 'Cause, that's my thought. So Riot says, hey, fighters are struggling to convert leads into wins right now through split pushing. Okay, so this is an item that you're intending to be built when you're ahead, right?
Right.
Cool. It's got 50 AD on it. It's got 300 health. It's got 150 health regen. Those are the base stats. No matter who's near you, you get that. That's not bad for the amount of money that you're pumping into this thing. It's not great. Like I'm not loving it, but it's not bad. It gets OP whenever, well, not OP, but it gets powered up. Let's just say, whenever you're alone, you get all these defensive stats, and you get to blast the shit out of towers, and your minions get those, and they get to blast the shit out of towers. So that's where the item like comes alive, if you will. You can build this while behind, because if you're
Yeah.
split pushing, like the part of it, okay, Sanguine Blade, you probably wouldn't necessarily want to build from behind, because if you're behind, you still can't 1v1 the person that shows up to kill you, right? Because you're behind, you're a weak little bitch. This, you don't have to. You can blast the tower, and you're just hoping that you can move quickly enough through waves that you get to the tower before the enemy team can rotate to you and stop you from taking towers. And if you can blast through them fast enough and your minions are that durable to where you can stack a wave virtually instantly by virtue of, superpowered minions, then I don't think it matters whether you're behind or not. I think it's a good item either way because it's either going to help you create these monster waves that you're going to end up taking towers if you're not immediately resisted, in which case you can run away. Right? If there's resistance, you just leave. You still get to farm the whole wave. You still get to grow an advantage, and nobody's challenging you. Yeah, you're fucking your team by not being there and doing anything, but I mean, what do you expect out of a Trendemir, right? So I don't. Okay, I knew I was gonna have a weird opinion about this one. This one I am actually less concerned about than I am the chains because I've seen items like this before. Banner of Command went nuts, but that's also because Banner of Command, you could create a sixth person. Like you could create an auto shoving lane and then leave it. Like that was the problem with Banner of Command, and I think they've identified that problem to a certain degree with this, and they're saying, no, 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 you have to be there. Like yes, you create a banner, but it's around you. So you don't get to just send a minion to split push. You have to split push. Okay, cool. There's a trade off there. I'm fine with that. All right. I think they have learned some lessons from Banner of Command. I don't think that this item is necessarily healthy for the game. And the reason I say that is not because the item itself like gives way too many stats, though it might. I mean, giving armor and magic resist on an offensive item is a lot that again, offensive defensive items are generally shit to try to balance because you buy them and then you're you're twice as strong. You know.
Can I hop in on that?
Yeah.
So I did look it up. So Hullbreaker with no passive is 108% gold efficient. So no passive. This is just raw stats. 108% pass or effective. So it's with passive, it's probably gonna bump to like with. I can't really. I don't
Well,
know.
okay, so look at it this way. If you're gonna buy armor, right? Shit, what is a cloth armor?
Cloth armor. What? 15 armor for
Cloth,
300.
yeah,
So
15
it's
armor for 300
20.
gold. So you're looking at it gives 20 to 45 armor. So 3 cloth armors at level 18. So 900 gold at level 18. You're talking about 2 null magic mantles. Yeah, 450 gold for 25 magic resist. So, okay, that's another 900 gold worth of stats. So you get 1800 gold worth of stats just from passive, and that doesn't include anything for damage to towers, which is unquantifiable. I can't guess that. So the gold efficiency of this item, particularly when alone, is fucking nuts. Right? Like insane nuts. Okay, so that being said, I think where I have trouble with this item is one, again, you're an offensive defensive item, and that's a problem. Two, it's not something that you necessarily have to build while ahead. You can build it while behind and instantly catch up a ton of value in stats. Right? And then the other end of it is, and this is what we haven't talked about, split pushing is a really awful strategy when you're not the split pusher. It sucks. Like I hate playing a game where I have a split pusher on my team because I'm forced as a squad of 4 to play around that person. I lose agency in how I want to play the game because someone else is playing the game their way. And I have no say in how this game is going to go. You picked Trendemir. You will be splitting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's all there is to it. So I have to figure out how to win 4v5s. And I have to figure out how to not get engaged upon for the rest of the game. And I have to figure out how we're going to contest Dragon when our Trendemir is not going to show up. Or how we're going to trade Dragon. And I hope to God Trendemir knows what he's fucking doing in his split pushing, right? It's an infuriating, like, it shoves a duty onto me that I did not choose. Therefore, it is not a fun way to play the game. I've never played the game with a split pusher and been like, woo, we did it! It's always like, okay, this guy's either going to ruin the game or he's going to, like, slide in and blow up their nexus when they're not paying attention. And either way, it's totally unsatisfying for me. You know, you either ruined my game because you weren't there when you should have been, or you won the game without me, which is unsatisfying.
Yeah,
I
because
feel
who
like
likes not
also
fighting, right?
inherently like team fighting is more interesting just in general than split pushing. Like obviously for for everyone involved, but even like I think even like spectating, you don't want to just watch games with one dude hitting bricks for 40 minutes type thing. It's like I feel like uh, it takes away from the more interesting aspects of the game.
Well, like, Smack, if I said to you,
Like
describe to me the fun part of League of Legends, what would you describe watching a guy split push to the Nexus?
I think that's riveting. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard
Shut
to-
the fuck up, Smack.
I mean, you're talking to a York player. You're really
I-
good split pushing. Stop that.
Okay. I asked the wrong person this question. I take full responsibility. But this is my point. It's like I think you're creating an item that yeah, it's for split pushers. And I mean, you've had those items before, and they didn't necessarily like some did kind of break the game, but for reasons that this one I don't think does. But that said, I don't love the idea of like proliferating split pushing because I think it makes the game less fun. And that is why I don't think the item is healthy for the game. It's not because of anything that the item does, is it because it furthers a play pattern that is not fun. Right? Like whenever we were doing funnel mid, right? And oh man, we're just gonna play some dipshit thing mid, and then Yee's gonna swarm through the jungle, and then go show up mid and get that wave, and then he's gonna go back to the other jungle, he's gonna farm up, and then he's gonna come back and he's gonna get all the farm again. And everybody's like, I'm just watching this like super powered, hyper fed Yee that I can't stop the feed on carry the game with Tarek ult. Like that's not fun, right? Is it an effective strategy? Fuck yeah. Doesn't have a whole lot of interaction. Can't really do anything about it. Not really fun. So they tried to remove it from the game, right? I'm not saying split pushing should necessarily be removed from the game, but I also don't think it needs to be like hard enabled, right? I wouldn't remove a drug addict from my family, but I also wouldn't buy them heroin for Christmas.
Why not?
You know, like
It'll make Christmas interesting.
yeah, here you go, Bubbles. Have a have a lovely Christmas, man. I'll see you next Christmas when you're back for more
Maybe.
heroin. You know,
Maybe, yeah.
when you've taken the enemy nexus by yourself. You know, like I don't know, man. Like this is the kind of like I just don't feel like these are great ideas.
So I think I agree. Like, if you're not the split pusher, no, split pushing isn't fun because it's not interactive for anyone else, and you're kind of trying to not play the game against the enemy team, right? Like you're just DSing and like pushing a wave. Um, but I think split pushing does have its place. So like, yeah, I would never want to fully remove it because again, as it doesn't feel great to win games where your split pusher just takes the nexus as they are not paying attention. That's not generally what happens either. Like, I prefer to play personally if I'm playing top a split pusher, something that can team fight too and come late. Tryndamere comes, cleans up, fucking pentakills them, whatever, just doing his thing. But yeah, it's definitely very uninteractive to play with the split pusher, even if it has its place, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I feel like the healthiest form of split pushing is split pushing in order to get a numbers advantage to then rotate over and team fight, right? Like I feel like that is the most, because you're actively creating an advantage without going AFK, right? You're actually
Yeah.
joining with your team at some point,
Right.
like to actually create like a meaningful advantage and force the other players to have to react to where you are on the map in
Mhm.
a like in a way that's not literally just like, oh, someone has to come over here and then we're just over here hitting things and hopefully you can stop me from hitting things because boy do we have an item for you. But uh, like I feel like yeah, I would agree. I feel like it has its place, but its place I think is not. I think the healthy form of it isn't the AFK split to hit the nexus. I
Right.
feel like it's actively creating advantages to then group with your team and kind of create like meaningful like map rotations and stuff. And that's like actually interesting to
Right.
watch, and
Okay.
your team doesn't feel
When split pudding, bleh. When split pushing becomes macro, it's interesting.
Yeah.
right.
But I
Like,
think that's also why split pushing doesn't work, is because teams, the lower elo that you are, even if I have a good split pusher who stays alive and dodges the enemy team and does it correctly, no team wants to Baron dance for 2 minutes, so they get impatient and let a fight happen because they want a fight to happen. So I think that's part of the problem is when it becomes macro, that is the more interactive and better part of split pushing, but that's the other half of why split pushing doesn't work is because your team doesn't allow it to because we're impatient. Like me as an AD carry, I just want to fucking go in and do a bunch of damage instead of freezing the wave
It,
because I know I'm
the
supposed to.
all right, so
one
Stove, I'm gonna let you have this real quick, but then I've got to wrap this up. I just looked at the clock. We have been going for
oh
an
yeah,
hour and 22 minutes.
it's so
So,
the thing is like with split pushing is like you have to understand like this is a thing that is in champ select. You have like someone picks Yorick. Obviously they want to split push. I know everybody wants to fight and it wants to be a big clown fiesta at the dragon. I
Yeah.
understand that, but it's you gotta learn with what you're given as a team.
Yep.
Like I understand split pushing is very like it's a lackluster win. It's like, oh well, there they go, bye. But it's also you kind of have to work with it if that's what they pick. It's like, are we gonna like? It's like with Poppy. Like, are we gonna fault you for picking Poppy support? No, we kind of have to work with what we got.
if you want to win, or you could do exactly that, and that would be 15 of my games out of 40. So, I don't know. Either way. So,
Like,
guys,
yeah, yeah.
all right. So, I'm going to wrap. We're going to wrap it up real quick. Um, we can talk about mobility items and mage stuff next week, but I don't want to. So I'm going to say a couple of things, and just this is my immediate impressions. And I would open up the floor, but I want this to be fast. So I'm just gonna say how I feel. If everybody like hard disagrees with me, then we can talk about this next week some. But all right, I'm trying to be fast. So, and also I reserve the right to be wrong about any of this, and then come back next week and say, okay, so I was wrong about that. Here's how I feel now. Right? Okay. First things first. I want to talk about mage items. Everybody's like, oh, mage items are getting buffed. It's gonna be this big fucking thing. Mages are back. Ah! Okay. I don't think that's necessarily true. The buff to mage items is that they cost on average 200 gold less to complete than what they cost before, which means that you will receive your items slightly sooner. Right? We're talking a wave to a wave and a half sooner. So while League of Legends is like the name of the game is completing big items faster and getting power spikes faster makes you stronger, we're talking about probably 1 minute of difference between when you could complete these items before and when you can complete these items now. That is significant. I'm not saying it's not. I am not saying that this is also like the second coming of Jesus for mages. I don't think it's going to be that different, right? Like this doesn't. If they did all of this and like added 15 AP to all of these items, or they added, some stats in addition to, if they just made it way more gold efficient, then I could see what we're talking about. But this is literally just, yeah, it makes a difference. Certainly, it's a good thing for mages. Certainly, is this what mages needed to like catapult them into like all of a sudden they're super relevant? Uh, I don't think so, but it's gonna help. You know, this to me is like vitamins, right? You're gonna take it, you might feel a little better, but you're not gonna like be jacked tomorrow taking Centrum Silver, right?
Only if you take the Flintstone ones.
Yeah, the Flintstone vitamins maybe, but you get that kick from that chalky orange taste, and you're like, I'm doing something good for my body, you know. By the way, why did I say Centrum Silver? Isn't that like old people vitamins?
Yeah.
That for like 50-year-olds? Okay, just Centrum then. They make like a regular vitamin for people. So that, you know. Anyway, all right, mobility items. So they took the dash off of Stride Breaker, but instead made it have so much decaying slow that it's essentially a dash. Uh, so that's fine. I actually think it's better this way because those dashes are extremely powerful in being able to dodge things, and a gap close like that is just, it's not good to put on an item. I've already talked about this a lot. I think Gale Force suffers from a lot of the same problem with it gives dashes to champions who were balanced around the fact that they didn't have a dash. And now they can buy one on what is an already good item for them and then be that much better. Like, I don't love it. So they took that off of Stride Breaker. But then the other movement speed, like the uh, overall passive movement speed that they were talking about within items and runes, it took off some of the bonus movement speed off of all of these items. So a 3% becomes a 2%, a 3% becomes a 2%, a 10% becomes an 8%. Um, you know, stuff like this. Like, they're just taking the additional, like, you run a little bit faster is now gone, right? Uh, the one that particularly bothered me about this was Dead Man's Plate. Like, the identity of Dead Man's Plate is that you build up this thing, you can run faster, and then you can force an engage by running someone down. And I've always felt like the running someone down items are not a problem. The problem items are the ones where you can dash to somebody over and over and over and over again. You know, there are champions that have this kind of insane mobility. Like Misfortune has the ability to throw on the afterburners. Janna has the ability to throw on the afterburners. And yeah, you can buy all these items and go real fast, but I never felt like somebody running too fast, aside from Lilia, really broke the game. Right? I don't feel like any of these items broke the game for that reason. Right? They broke the game because they had Gale Force or other dash items that broke the game. I don't ever think, like, I don't think Dead Man's Plate was ever a problem. I don't think Trinity Force was ever a problem. I think Death's Dance was a problem, but for totally different fucking reasons that are still there. They just removed the totally unnecessary bonus movement speed that you would get after killing somebody. Which, why the fuck was that even on this item in the first place? Shirelia's, bonus movement speed is 60, decaying to 30 over 2 seconds. Now it's just 30. This item sucks. Like, there's no use for it now. Because it doesn't feel good. You've taken off, like, nobody's building that shit. I'm not.
Over.
Yeah, it's an over nerf. And this item wasn't a problem anyway. people weren't building Shurelias all the fucking time, and you're like, God damn, I'm getting just crushed by this fucking Shurelia's fucking revelry. Oh! Like, nobody said that. You know, nobody said that. So, but like, I don't know, man. Like, Prowler's Claw, cooldown goes up, lethality goes down, sand swipe targeting. Any enemy unit goes to enemy champion only. I don't think that fixes. I mean, yes, reducing targeted mobility dashes and shit is good. But the problem with these items is that they have that. And that is a huge power budget for a kit that doesn't have that. And it's a good item. Like, if you bought an item and spent one of your item slots to get a new ability and nothing else, right? Like, how much would you pay in gold for Ezreal's E? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. All right? That's a huge part of his kit. It's a huge part of his power budget. Now, if I made an item that only gave you that ability and no stats, but you had to lose one of your item slots to buy it, okay. You know, but Gale Force ain't that. Like, you get shit. Do what?
That are at least way worse stats.
Yeah, or at least way worse stats, right. So you feel like you're losing an item but gaining an ability. That's what I'm getting at. Like, that's the kind of trade-off where I would kind of be like, okay, you know. Or like, you could buy like a potion that just gave you Ezreal's E, and it cost like 4,000 gold. You know? Like, I'd be like, all right, well, that dude's down like 2 items, and I can kick his ass, but he has Ezreal's E. And so, all right, you know.
Everyone late game is just dashing.
Yeah, it's just Ezreal's E like all over the fucking place. But I mean, if that were a thing, I'd be more inclined. But like, some of these changes, I don't know, man. I don't feel like they're addressing was really the pain points of movement, right? Like, I don't feel like the meta was a problem because everybody could run a little bit faster. Running a little bit faster kind of affects everybody, and as long as everybody has equal access to running a little bit faster, that doesn't. Yes, some champions will benefit from that more than others. But a dash is a totally different fucking thing. So, there you go. And I don't think that actually got fixed, except on Stridebreaker. But,
I think Prowler's Claw was directly at Varus.
mm-hmm.
He's
So,
the only one that would not do it through champions.
So there you go.
Yeah, that would be good on Talon, yeah.
All right. Fellas, you got anything you want to say? Before we wrap this bitch up, I've got to pick out somebody off of our Patreon list. So, Smack, why don't you say hello to all of your many, many new fans that you have now?
My many new fans.
Yeah. I mean, there are ladies all over the country just throwing panties at their monitors right now. Yeah, so. Like our, yeah, like our Patreon this week, Sexy Alien Space Babe. Thank you, Sexy Alien Space Babe.
We appreciate you.
Yeah. If you want to throw your panties at the screen for Smack, just mail them into the podcast or email me a picture, I guess, and I'll make sure he gets it. So, thank you all for your support. In particular, thank you, Sexy Alien Space Babe, for bringing us to the people this week. I appreciate you. And good night, everybody. All right. Smack, I know it's your first time. Wait for this thing to go before you leave this room. Do not shut this window until the recording with your name on it says uploaded.
It says rendering, so.
We're doing pretty good.
Also, I do apologize. I did have to leave. There were some fucking skunks like going nuts in my backyard.
Oh, by the way, let's see. Stove, you got a compliment.
I did.
Yeah. Iceman from the Twitch chat got on. And by the way, we are still streaming while I'm doing this, so. Anyway, Iceman says, I was just listening to the Fuck It episode, and I have to say that Stove has big, ponderous energy, but in a good way.
Not toxic
Hey.
Yeah.
enough. Not toxic enough.
Not
Ponderous energy
anywhere
without
near.
the toxicity.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a good way. You're good, ponderous. All right, I think I got it all. I'm going to send
I'm
it
big
to you.
into his yang.
316. Let's
Bro,
see.
fucking gunks are crazy, dude. Like they were fighting. Like I'm pretty sure I could have put money down and be like, all right, who's winning?
They look cute, but
I mean,
they don't take nothing.
I,
Coin.
I don't know who is sleeping with whose partner. I don't give a crap. I turned on the light, like made some loud noises, and they ran. I'm like, what the fuck is like? My aunt was at the door. I had to mute myself. I'm like, what the hell's going on? She's like, there's a like banging outside. I'm like, what the fuck is banging? I'm like, all right, fine. I'll quick go check. I turn on like I peek out my window. I'm like, those fucking those are skunks. What the fuck are they doing?
Hey, Smack, hop into the Discord real quick. I'm going to give you the podcaster tag so you can actually see where we talk about being on episodes and shit in the Discord. So just click.
Two
click.
cans and just went bang, 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 bang.
You good, baby. Any room. Pick a room.
Oh, to hop in a room?
Yeah, just hop in a room real quick so I can add you to the podcaster list.
I don't know if I rendered.
And then you can see all the cool shit that's behind the curtains here at the podcast. Boom, there you go. All right, if you see down there at the bottom, there's like an episode planning.
Oh yeah.
So check that. I'll typically on like Monday, Tuesday, or sometimes even Wednesday, we'll drop a hey podcasters, who wants to podcast this week, and what the fuck do we want to talk about? And then that gets in there. By the way, guys, Smack had a really couple of good ideas for podcasting. We'll probably use next week. You want to copy and paste those into episode planning, Smack?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay. Other than that, there you go. Good night, everyone.